This video is brought to you by Mac Weldon. My goodness! There's a new trailer for Joker 2019. Not to be confused with the current Joker, the Jared Leto Joker, which may or may not still be a thing. And also the Gotham Joker, who now looks less like the Joker and more like a kicked-in knee. Now forget all that! This is a brand new Joker. So as always, we're going to be talking Easter eggs, references, things missed, as we dive into what the hell is this movie? What the hell is going on? And how do we get here? Potential spoiler warning, so if you don't want to know anything, please skip to the mid-roll ad spot, watch that, and then leave. What? I'm not above asking for that. Right, off the bat, let's clear some things up. This is a movie set outside the current DC universe. After the success, if it could be called that, of the Justice League, there was a mandate over at Warner Brothers to de-emphasize the cinematic shared universe nature of their output. Sure, we still get the likes of Aquaman, Shazam, Wonder Woman, it's the 80s baby. But in the same way, in the comics, there's a series of different universes that are unconnected with the same characters, plotting different storylines and series of interdimensional events. This is what we're going to be getting a bit more of from now on. Standalone, unconnected movies is what I'm saying. Because also after this, we're getting that Batman solo movie without Ben Affleck, which is also in a different continuity to everything else we've gotten. But it's also the 90s maybe? I don't really know. I wish I did, but I don't. What's up with this version of the Joker though? What's his deal? In a nutshell, this is another retelling of the ambiguous and ever-changing origin of the Joker. This particular version is said to draw inspiration from, shock of all shocks, brace yourself, The Killing Joke, which is widely regarded as one of the best Joker comics, if not just comics, of all time. What the movie takes from this is a few core ideas, like how they both deal with a stand-up comedian, whom of which keeps being kicked in the head by life until he hits a breaking point, spiraling into a life of robbery and chaos and murder and makeup, but also laughter. That's fun. The Joker, this time starting out as a man named Arthur Fleck. Arthur Fleck, what's that? Familiar. Anyway, this was a role Joaquin Phoenix was keen on for a number of reasons. He liked the idea of a big budget superhero film that's got a smaller, more kind of, independent vibe. $55 million is reportedly the budget, which shockingly is a conservative amount of money for a comic book movie. And also, like I said, this is probably a one and done. There's stories also that he'd been courted by Marvel for a number of prominent roles in their universe, including both Bruce Banner and Doctor Strange. But rumor has it, he found the multi-film attachment clause a little bit off-putting. Still, if this does well, probably just make another one. We get this brief look at him performing stand-up, and also watching stand-up, and we also see some of the material he's been working on. Let's take a look, shall we? Okay, jokes. Terrible handwriting. He's not even writing on the lines for a lot of this. I used to be a primary school teacher. It wasn't really an emphasis of mine whether or not you have excellent handwriting. I just want to be able to read it, but this is atrocious. Okay, why did the old something insomnia have to sleep with? I don't know what that is. Why are the poor confused? Because they don't have any sense. Yep, I get it. That should play well. The worst part of having a mental illness is people expect you to behave as if you don't. Classic. This guy's really got it. This joke here, though, about the poor, it's kind of an early indication about his disdain for the societal traps of the rich and the poor, and possibly also partly his motivations for putting on clown makeup and being a terrifying clown man. More on that in a bit, though. Because before he became a terrifying clown man, he was a slightly less terrifying, but still terrifying clown man, in the form of one of those guys who spins a sign out the front of a store. In this case, it's a store that sells musical instruments. I believe they're called. What you got here, you got your classic pianola, guitars. This one's like aqua blue. The circle things that you hit, and they go, Gah! When you hit them, all the classics. Clearly, though, this is a man dealing with some mental health issues. We know this because he wrote it down and we can read it. But also it appears as if he's talking with a mental health professional, a social worker, in fact. We see that on the badge. And when he's asked a question, his immediate reaction is to smile. Put on a happy face, as his mother told him. This appears to be a running idea throughout the movie. We see him forcing a smile on himself, forcing a smile on young Bruce Wayne. Yeah, Bruce Wayne. More on him in a minute. I'd imagine, though, one of the things to tip him over the edge would be the death of his mother, the seemingly one good and dependable thing that he has in his life. Also, fun little Easter egg, this woman's name is Kane. The man who took the credit for creating Batman initially was Bob Kane. But really, Bill Finger did most of the work. Most of the iconic ideas that are still around, they're his. This was Bob Kane's original idea for Batman. And this is what Bob Kane looks like. Appearing to me as the kind of man that Batman would jump on through a skylight who's attending a mob boss dinner party. This hospital, though, Arkham State, is probably this universe's Arkham Asylum, home for the criminally insane. Every single window is barred, and when we get inside, one of the first things we see is a shirtless man screaming, strapped to a gurney. The look of Arkham Asylum is changed, probably to fit in with this grimy 1980s New York aesthetic that they're going for in this movie. I mean, this is fairly evident, but yeah, this movie is set in the 80s. I mean, you can tell by the cars and the clothing and the televisions, and how there's not 100 people holding up their cell phones to film the dozens of clowns that are rampaging through a subway carriage. If, though, this movie is set in the 80s, and that Batman Solo movie I mentioned earlier is set in the 90s, is there the possibility that that movie is a follow-up to this? I mean, I really hope not. We already did realistic, gritty cop Batman. I want to see more ridiculous Batman stuff. You know how you go into his Batcave and there's like a giant penny and a dinosaur? How does he even get this shit in here? It's just him and Alfred. I suspect that he hires like different moving guys each time and then just, murders them. Aside from the Killing Joke, though, there were other influences. Cinematic influences. Specifically, some of the works of Martin Scorsese, who's actually producing this film, in the likes of Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, and The King of Comedy. The biggest of all, which is evident in this trailer, being The King of Comedy. Both movies follow a failing stand-up comedian who's pushed to do extraordinary and terrible things in the name of fame and recognition. The comparisons also extend to the visual cues. The red jacket worn by De Niro appears to be similar to this one. Also, we get this familiar pattern from the poster. But hey, if we're talking De Niro, Bobby D.
You talking to me?
No, I'm talking in reference to you. I'm not talking specifically
you talking to me?
Calm down! De Niro, though, appears as a talk show host in Joker, similar, I'd imagine, to the 1983 movie it pays homage to, with Jerry Lewis's role. As for the rest of the cast, we've got Zazie Beetz as the cynical single mother and love interest of Arthur Fleck. Arthur Fleck? What? Artie Fleck. Fleck. There's something there, I don't know what it is. Mark Maron also plays the producer of Robert De Niro's talk show. And we also have, lo and behold, Brett Cullen as Thomas Wayne. This is a Batman for a universe, and yet, here we are. Apparently this version is said to be a billionaire philanthropist running for mayor of Gotham City. This version, though, is said to be less sympathetic than previous incarnations, but even then, not every version has been perfect. The Snyder version got his family shot when he got into a fist fight with a man holding a gun. Douglas Hodge rocks up as Alfred Pennyworth. And you know how I said there's no Batman? Well, that may be the case, but there is a 10-year-old Bruce Wayne. There is a possibility, I guess, that down the line, this Bruce Wayne grows up to be Batman, or a version of Batman. But again, this is a Batman for a universe. For now. But that aside, who wants to see a 30-year-old Batman against a 64-year-old Joker? Also, we already saw that movie. But this here looks like the young actor who will be playing Bruce Wayne. And the gates also indicate that this could be Wayne Manor. In this film, Arthur Fleck appears to have this obsession and disdain with the divide between the rich and the poor. And he could be taking that out specifically on the Wayne family. We see him getting thrown out of an event in Wayne Hall and watching Thomas Wayne on TV. And what better way for a lunatic to come at someone than to target their family. Speaking of TV, though, there is a moment where we get the Joker preparing to make an appearance on Robert De Niro's talk show, which is evident from the curtain. We see it from offstage. There's actually a similar plot point in The King of Comedy, where Rupert Pupkin kidnaps the talk show host, with his only demand being to be allowed to do his comedy set on late night television in order to launch his career. I mean, that's how Fallon did it. That's how Corbyn did it. This is how every talk show host now makes their name in the industry. That's a fact, and it explains a lot. His message, though, will probably be something along the lines of, "Hey everyone, put on a clown mask and storm the subway, both the underground transit systems and also the sandwich shops." I think, though, mixed in with his message to the people, there will be some form of the expression, "put on a happy face," encouraging people to go out in clown masks and makeup. This serves a number of purposes. 1, it was something his mother always encouraged him to do, but to be honest, I feel like he's taken the wrong message from it. 2, it allows him to blend in with the crowd if everybody is wearing clown makeup. And 3, clowns are terrifying, so it's a good way to kind of rattle society up. The clown industry in the real world is actually suffering as a result of the negative perception of clowns. You know, their portrayals in the media. You know, we had that thing a few years back where clowns were randomly appearing. Then you got movies like It and such, these being largely to blame. Also, really, clowns are just, they're off-putting. I can't stress that enough. It's not a recent thing, that's always been the case, I feel. Am I right? Commercial time, everyone. Let's just have fun with this one. Mack Weldon are a quality clothing company that have sweet-looking hoodies, underwear, undershirts, t-shirts, polos, socks, sweats. Sorry about the birds. I got the door open. It's a very echoey space. I haven't put up the sound. It's not important. We're in an ad. Professionalism. But all of these things, they are famously antimicrobial, which basically means you can wear them all day and they smell great and not like a pile of horrible garbage. They also fit really well. They are genuinely my favorite t-shirt. I got a bunch of them. I got a stack of them. So if you like clothing that's not terrible, and it looks good, and it smells great, check them out by visiting macweldon.com and use the offer code Mr. Sunday Movies, or one word, for 20% off your purchase. All of that you can find linked below. Director Todd Phillips appeared at CinemaCon to debut the footage and said this of his project.
I'm here for the gangbang.
But then he went on to say other things, like how the film is still taking shape and he wants it to be a surprise, and how it's a different origin story of a beloved character. Also, he said that there's been a lot of talk online about this movie that is inaccurate. Now, there's some really interesting imagery and ideas at play in this trailer, but honestly, it's hard to tell which way this is going to go. For me, at least. I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I'm very intrigued to see how this one's going to turn out. I mean, based on Todd's previous work and those involved and what direction this appears to be going in, all these things could add up to something fantastic. But people said that about another movie, and that one didn't turn out so well, did it? You know the one. Think of your own reference here. Anyways, let's all look forward to checking out the adventures of this new Joker, Arthur Fleck, in October. What a mess. Arthur Fleck. Affleck! Is this a prequel to the movie Paycheck? It's a good joke, Claire, if you understood what the movie Paycheck was. Do you? It's good. It's a great movie. What do you think of this trailer, though? Intrigued? Not that intrigued. And if there's anything I've missed, please feel free to let me know below. Also, if you like Shazam, there's an Easter egg video about it coming up on Sunday. A recent video about his terrible 1970s adventures and other things available on this channel. So subscribe if you want any of that. Also, this Monday on my podcast called The Weekly Planet, where we talk movies and comics and TV shows, we're getting into this trailer, plus the new Avengers one, plus an in-depth look at Shazam, and a whole lot more. That's linked below. But thanks for watching this. I appreciate it. Take care.